So here we go with the news. You would think over the Christmas holiday there wouldn't be any. There's a chip designer out of Singapore called Groq. They have something that does inference, which I guess gives you faster answers from large language models. So Nvidia presumably or supposedly has a weak spot here. So they sort of not bought Groq for 20 billion. I don't know why they did the deal this way, but they're buying their technology, licensing their technology, and buying all their employees for $20 billion.
This is happening a lot, this fake M&A, which are they trying to just like get around like, SEC or other kind of rules, but it's kind of ridiculous. Like, we're not buying you, but we are buying you. We're gutting the company.
Why would they do that? I mean, does the SEC and antitrust even apply when you're buying a Chinese company?
Well, this is not a new concept. The acqui-hire has been deployed by Apple many times, by Google many times. But when you see a $20 billion price tag for an acqui-hire, you start to kind of go,
smells like a duck, walks like a duck, but it's not an M&A. No, it's just an investment into an empty shell of a company.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the Intel stock that they bought like 6 months ago, they finally forked over the $5 billion to Intel, and they made a paper profit of $2.5 billion the day the deal closed.
I don't know what the play is there. What do you think that play is that Nvidia wants Intel? Rony, do you have any insight into this?
So a couple of things. I think x86 access, legit x86 access is
x86 being
the architecture,
like CPU architecture, not GPU. Yeah. Which tells you something about where NVIDIA is heading, maybe at the edge and in devices and robots and stuff. The other piece is like inference-based compute is something that GPUs do not naturally do well. So this investment in Groq and this like bet on x86 is kind of like NVIDIA saying, we have so much like money, we're worth $5 trillion. Why wouldn't you put bets on other things?
It's interesting.
It'd be stupid not to.
It's a bit like rounding it all out. So if they get x86 architecture, they could build entire NVIDIA computers end to end. They could basically become a brand on top of the brand that they've already built and offer other things to end consumers that they don't do now.
Here's my inference. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. Notice that Jensen's been hanging out at the White House a lot.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about, hey, you get to do X, but you have to help us with Intel. Intel's like this classic American company. It can't fall apart. So do something, invest in them, help them start to build silicon in this country. I think you're going to see some of that going on as some of the trade-offs between things that they want to do overseas and things that they're being asked to do in America. That's
reminds me a bit of the old days when Microsoft came to Apple's rescue.
Yes.
Make sure that they wouldn't go away. It's kind of
or AOL taking its insane inflated value and buying Time Warner.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to I mean, I'm not implying that Nvidia is anything like AOL, but their valuation is so out of this world that they can go buy anything.
Yeah, they can grow and round it out now. It's interesting.
But is this an indicator of the outer edge of a bubble? Are we seeing the edge of the GPU peak for now? And this diversification into like x86 into inference, and maybe all the talk about large LLMs maybe hitting their peak as well. Is this the outer edge? And contrarians are starting to make their bets against. People are starting to do downward bets against Nvidia and other companies. Maybe this is an indicator, maybe it's not. But if you put it together other data points, this could be a sign that the current expansion of the bubble may be at some edge. And we'll see that this year.
Certainly the is it a bubble or is it not a bubble debate has been raging for at least the past 3 or 4 months. So it shows that, there's reason to believe that we could be indeed at the edge of a bubble and, valuations could correct.
Yeah, I mean,
you look at the corrections we've had in the past, they don't last very long.
What's crazy about equity markets is it's much easier to get in than to get out. It's always been the case. And it'll be proven again by this phenomenon of this next wave of technology, companies that have achieved $5 trillion valuations, which are potentially unsustainable, or potentially we're looking at companies that will go to $7 or $8 trillion, right? There's just no way to know. you just take your bet and you take the ride and you hope for the best. So here we are,
Well,
2026.
again, if you hold the stock for 5 or 10 years, you'll be fine. Even though there will be some heart-pounding moments.
Yeah,
I do think a lot of companies get swept up in the valuation that a company like Nvidia has. If Nvidia is worth X, company B is worth Y. And that is not always true.
Yeah, the adjacent strategy is not necessarily a truism. The Nvidia adjacent won't necessarily work out for a lot of people.
Here's my thinking about even my own portfolio. I think this is the year we're going to see the downstream valuations start to hit. So even if the Mag 7 is kind of levels off or goes down a little bit, the companies that are applying it for robotics and drones and other applications are, if they start to see the benefits, are going to be rewarded.
You guys want to pivot a little bit and talk about the continuing saga of Netflix, Warner Brothers, and Paramount for a moment?
Sure. Your favorite.
My favorite. Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the Paramount bid is going to get stalled, if it isn't already.
It's just the administration is the wild card, right? In a reality world, this does not hold water. But water gets held in very strange vessels with this administration, and it will be a dramatic multiple attempt at turns of events with the Ellison dollars.
Can you imagine the Ellisons controlling Oracle and 2 movie studios and a dozen important cable assets?
I really cannot. And when you think about it, might be hard pressed to visualize and give perspective as Netflix is the good guy in this race, but kind of Netflix is the good guy.
Look, it's not just this administration. I was not in the middle of, but AT&T was investing in Magic Leap while they were at the process of acquiring Warner Brothers. This is like pre-pandemic, and now they're upchucking Warner Brothers, right? That whole thing happened. But at that time, the administration at the time was also holding it up. So there was like all this grinding and issues, and it finally got resolved, but it was like held up for some reason. And then I'm not exactly sure what those reasons were, but eventually the transaction happened. And you know what? It cost them, it wasn't a good deal. The owner of Warner Brothers, I think they lost 40 or 50 billion. We can get the exact number. It didn't turn out to be that good. So is this actually a really good deal? Whoever buys Warner's, is this a money sink, or is this something that's going to turn out good?
Hard to say.
So Netflix quietly bought Ready Player Me. Our friend Timu Tok, the tall man from Estonia, is going to join Netflix along with his team. And I guess the idea is that there will be a Netflix metaverse across their new gaming channel. And of course, the terms are undisclosed. Interesting window into what Netflix game strategy may be. Ready Player One is a cool company, but I have no idea what the valuation was or really what Netflix is finally going to do in gaming.
But is Ernie Klein from Ready Player, the writer, is he part of Ready Player Me? No, that's a totally different. Just kind of nicked the name.
Yeah, Netflix is a very interesting play when it comes to gaming. It's a bit like Apple, always trying to get into gaming and never gets the chemistry right. But Netflix has staying power. They'll keep trying and they'll keep acquiring and keep jockeying for position until they find their way to take a chip out of the PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch market. They'll do it.
My bet is that Netflix ends up with Warner Brothers, and it would be appropriate for them to all own a brick and mortar studio, having conquered the distribution game already.
Yeah. Well, and my thesis about Netflix wanting Warner Brothers because of their theme park aspirations is proven because I'm actually in Vegas a little early this year because Charlie and I have CES in a couple of days, but we're here to see the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere for a few days ahead of time. And we're staying at the MGM, and there's a Netflix Bites food attraction at the MGM where it's all themed food that you go into and eat. And it's all based on their hit shows like Squid Game and Stranger Things and so forth and so on.
They're doing a location-based entertainment thing.
Yeah, the nuggets are being dropped, right? The breadcrumbs are being dropped.
And Netflix is a company that can afford to be a loser in location-based entertainment, but it's a winner in marketing for them.
Totally. We were actually at the theater. We went to see the new Avatar, by the way, which is, if you guys haven't seen it, it is a unbelievable technical achievement. Like, it is stunning from end to end. But
I thought
yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
the story in the second one was so hackneyed.
Well, the story in the second one is Jonah and the whale, right? This one is a bit of Indians learn how to get guns. That's the story. But it is exhausting to watch. It's like 3.5 hours of nonstop, like marquee, gorgeous visual effects creation to the point where you actually get like overwhelmed by it. Like, you just need to slow down and give me a little dialogue every now and again before you go to the next action scene. It is 3.5 hours of the best action movie you've ever seen. And by the end of it, you walk out and you felt like you were on a 3.5 hour theme park ride. And I was physically exhausted.
So CES this year has to be AI everything, just like it was metaverse everything, XR everything. I just got a solicitation email for a company that's got a intelligent toilet. I knew that was coming.
Of course. Well, I mean, the Toto toilet is the most intelligent thing on the planet. If you guys have ever been to Japan and experienced the full-on Toto toilet experience, there's an amazing South Park episode about the Toto toilet, by the way.
I have an AI cat litter box at home, and it text messages us every 3 or 4 hours. Like,
do you really need to know that, Rony?
And more important, does Gary need to know that?
Gary needs to know this. It's actually an amazing device, I have to say. It's like, I am stuck. Please clean me.
Did you like the third Avatar, Charlie? You saw it. The third
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen the third one?
No, I was so disappointed with the second one.
I think it's also visually gorgeous, but I mean, look,
is the story
one,
good?
It is
story uber allies, guys.
Is
it's a remarkable thing to watch. I wouldn't call it a movie. It's a remarkable thing to watch.
Right. Is it a story or just a theme park
There's
experience?
a story there. It's just very basic. It's very, look, I mean, it's hard to criticize something that looks so, it's like a beautiful piece of technology art that goes along for 3.7 hours in a movie theater. You're sitting there between the 20 minutes of trailers and then the 3.5 hours of motion picture.
It's like the end of Stranger Things. Like, the beginning season is so brilliant and lo-fi and genius. And the end, they have a giant visual effects budget, not quite Avatar. And it's just, they just like, oh, look at all the money we have to spend on
all
CG.
These fun toys we can play with,
one thing I wanted to talk about before Gary jumps in is Starlink announcement.
Yeah.
Last month they had 8 million. This month they have 9 million. It looks like they're signing up like 20,000 people a day.
Yeah, we're Starlink users when we're in Utah, and it is great. I mean, because there's so much bad weather and stuff that the landline internet goes down a lot. Starlink is almost up all the time, and it's fast and it's reliable. And for whatever you think of Elon and all his foibles, he knows how to build shit. He knows how to get stuff done.
Well, we've been talking about a SpaceX IPO for some time.
Yeah.
I think they may be better off spinning off Starlink and doing two IPOs.